Have you run out of ideas for your embossing paste and washi tapes? Let me show you how to pair them. Hang with me to the end so you can see how I use the leftover paste. Welcome to another Color Connection with Amber episode where I use the color palette from the Altenew Inspiration Challenge to inspire you. Here I have the brush grid washi tape, and one of my favorite things to do with card making is to use black and white in my designs. I love to use a lot of black in my designs. I think the high contrast with either light or bright and vibrant colors is really striking and can make for beautiful designs. Here I've just torn off a piece of the washi tape. You can see this is the full width of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of Neenah Classic Cross Solar White. This is the 80 pound, and I'm just going to cover the card front with that. If you get a few wrinkles, it's very easy to peel up and then put back down on the cardstock. I am going to fold the edges over. I prefer to fold the edges versus cut the edges because I feel like the washi tape stays down on the cardstock much better that way. So if you remember our inspiration photo that you can see in the right hand corner, there's quite a few lines of beads in that. So I picked out 2 stencils. This is the molded line stencil along with the Mighty Quarter stencil. And I'm just trying to decide which one goes better with this pattern. Definitely, I think the Mighty Corners matches up with this grid pattern much better. And I'm going to grab my embossing paste. Now, I'm going to mix colored embossing paste with my ink pads, but you can definitely use ink pad refills, even alcohol ink refills for your markers, watercolor. There's a number of different colored mediums that you can mix with your embossing paste to get custom colors. So a lot of times when I use embossing paste, I don't like to mix it all the way. I like a variance in color. In this particular application, I wanted a homogeneous color, so I went ahead and kept mixing that until it was all the same color. This was mixed with Sapphire Crisp Dye Ink, and it is a gorgeous color, you guys. It's almost like lapis lazuli with just a touch more purple in it. This is just the prettiest blue, and so vibrant, a lot more vibrant than I would expect when you mix it with embossing paste. Now, if you're trying to get deep dark colors with your embossing paste, what I would recommend is using one of the liquid mediums like the ink pad refills, the alcohol marker refills, or even the watercolor brush marker ink, because you can add more pigment quicker to your embossing paste and get a deeper color that way. Here I have the Volcano Lake Crisp Dye Ink, and I'm going to mix more embossing paste with that. So instead of going with the green that was in the inspiration color palette, I decided to go a little bit more teal. One of the strands of beads all the way on the side was a little more teal than it was green, and I went with that color. But you could also use like Minty Mint or even Firefly or something like that to get a bit more of a green, less of a teal. Totally up to you. Here I'm just trying to get a little bit of that blue. I'm trying to fill in all the space but not contaminate too much of my Volcano Lake color here. And I want to make sure that I fill in all the spaces, but I'm good if some of those areas are thinner because I do want some of that washi tape to show through. And you will be able to see that in the final card. I'm going to move on to Coral Berry to finish off our color palette, and I'll just put a little bit of that up in the corner here. You want to remove your stencil and clean it with warm soapy water or a baby wipe right away. Here you can see that washi tape was a little more sticky than I anticipated, and it started to pull the stencil a little bit. So do be careful when you're removing your stencil. And here you can see the embossing paste layered on the washi tape is really striking. I love the look of this. I do end up tearing off a little bit more of that washi tape. I went ahead and did a second card. This is with the molded line stencil and with the embossing paste layered on top of painted dots washi tape. And I love the look of that as well. For this, I switched the Volcano Lake to Lagoon and the Coral Berry to Magenta to get even brighter colors with that embossing paste. So I have this leftover embossing paste here. I decided not to waste it. I'm just going to roll a brayer right through the embossing paste. I've definitely done this with excess ink. I've never done it with embossing paste before, and I got to tell you, I absolutely will do this again. I love the look of this background. Now, before I created that second card, I actually mixed some white glitter into the embossing paste colors that I was making. And you can see that iridescence on this panel. You'll also be able to see it in the painted dots panel as well. Here I have Mega Label Love, and I'm just going to create a sentiment here. Now, I didn't have any of the pink from our color palette on the abstract background that we made, so I'm going to add that to the sentiment stamp here, which is why I chose more of a solid stamp. I'll stamp Birthday and Obsidian Pigment ink, and I stamp them in a row like that even though I'm going to stack them because it's going to be easier for me to trim them on my paper trimmer. Here I stacked them, added a few black enamel dots, and that card is done. For the next card, I'll create my own sentiment with the Mega Brush Alpha stamp set, and I just eyeball where these letters need to go. One thing I do recommend is looking at the angle of the letter and match that from the packaging, and I think you get a better look to your sentiment that way. So instead of that H being straight up and down, it's a little more angled like it is in the packaging. I decided to go ahead and fussy cut this out because I prefer the look of that. It's a little tedious, but I think the look of it is nicer on a script sentiment like this versus having kind of like a chunky sentiment strip. I'll pop this up on some narrow foam strips, and that'll be the finished card. I didn't add any additional embellishments. For the next card, I had these leftover die cuts. This is from the Bold Thanks die from a previous set of cards that I did. These were just laying on my desk, so I decided to line them up vertically instead of straight across as they're intended. I grabbed a piece of washi tape and put that on top of it and put some glue on the back, and I'll just get this adhered down to the card. Now, of course, you want to make sure that your embossing paste is completely dry before you do this. Mine was still a little bit damp because I'm impatient like that, and I do end up tearing up just a tiny bit of that embossing paste that's layered on top of the washi tape. So you can see that there. I do end up just fitting that back into the area. It was just a small little piece. If I had removed a little bit of the tack from the washi tape first, I think that I would have avoided tearing up a little of that embossing paste. Here's the finished card. I hope that these cards have given you some new ideas for layering your washi tape and your embossing paste, and also using your brayer with your excess or leftover embossing paste for an abstract card design. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you soon with more inspiration.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!